Hello, friends. Imagine opening your mailbox one afternoon and finding a letter from Social Security saying you owe them thousands of dollars back immediately. That letter is not a scam. It is not junk mail. It is a real overpayment notice, and right now, millions of Americans are getting one just like it. What makes this so dangerous is that most people who get this letter have absolutely no idea that they have three powerful ways to fight back against it. And if you do nothing, if you just freeze and ignore that letter, Social Security will start taking 50% of your check every single month automatically. That is not a guess. That is the current policy as of April 2025. And it applies to every new overpayment notice going out the door right now. So today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, exactly how much they can take, and the three forms that can stop this before it starts. If you are someone who depends on these videos to stay ahead of Social Security changes before they hit your bank account, go ahead and subscribe real quick. I do this because the rules shift constantly, and the agency does not send you a personal explanation. They just send you the bill and expect you to figure it out. All right, so here is what actually happened. And I want you to understand the full picture because the timeline tells you everything about how messy this got. Back in March 2024, under the previous administration, the default clawback rate was dropped down to just 10% of your monthly benefit. That was a huge relief for people because before that, the government was taking 100% of your check until the debt was fully repaid to them. Then, on March 27, 2025, the new administration announced they were going straight back to 100%, your entire check gone. People lost their minds. Congress pushed back hard, and exactly 29 days later, on April 25, they backed down and landed at 50% instead. So in just over 1 year, the rate went from 10% to 100% to 50%. And if you are confused right now, you have every right to be. Here is where it stands today. If you receive a new overpayment notice dated after April 25, 2025, the default withholding rate is 50%. If your overpayment was flagged before March 27, 2025, the old 10% rate still applies to you, and they cannot change it retroactively. And if you are on supplemental security income, the SSI rate stays at 10%, regardless of when your notice was dated. So that part has not changed at all. Now, let me show you what 50% actually looks like on a real check, because I think the math is what wakes people up more than anything else I can say. The average Social Security retirement benefit in 2026 is $1,976 a month, according to the SSA directly. 50% of that is $988 taken right off the top every month, which means you would be living on about $988 total. Now imagine trying to pay your rent, your groceries, your medications, your electric bill, and your car insurance on $988 a month. And here is what really bothers me about this whole thing. In most cases, the overpayment was not even the person's fault to begin with. It was the agency's mistake. The Inspector General found that from 2015 through 2022, Social Security made $71.8 billion in improper payments total. That is less than 1% of total benefits paid. But when it hits your mailbox and the number on that letter says you owe $8,000 or $12,000, it does not feel small. The average overpayment on disability cases alone was over $14,000 per person. And some of these errors went on for years before anyone caught them. And right now, the agency has $23 billion in uncollected overpayments sitting on the books, and they are under enormous pressure to collect every penny of it. So now that you understand what is happening and why, let me give you the part that actually matters. The three things you can do to fight back starting today. Option number 1 is an appeal, and you use this when you believe the overpayment amount is wrong, or when you believe you were never actually overpaid at all. The form you need is called SSA 561. The full name is Request for Reconsideration, and you can get it directly at ssa.gov/forms/SSA 561. What this form does is it tells Social Security to go back and look at the numbers again because you believe they made a mistake in their calculation of what you owe. Now, here is the critical part. If you file this appeal within 30 days of receiving your notice, they cannot take a single dollar from your check while they review it. That 30-day protection window is your most powerful weapon in this entire process, and most people do not know it even exists, which is exactly why I am telling you now. Option number 2 is a waiver, and this is for situations where you agree that you were overpaid, but it was not your fault, and paying it back would be a hardship. The form for this one is SSA 632BK. The full name is Request for Waiver of Overpayment Recovery, and it is available at ssa.gov/forms/SSA 632. When you file for a waiver, you have to show 2 things. First, that you were not at fault for the overpayment, and second, that paying it back would hurt your ability to live. Now, the agency actually updated its waiver rules recently and added 20 common situations where they will automatically presume that the overpayment was not your fault. These include things like you reported the change on time, but they kept paying the old amount, or SSA cannot find its own documentation to prove why they overpaid you. And if you or anyone in your household is already on SSI, SNAP, TANF, VA pension, or the Medicare Part D Extra Help program, you may be automatically deemed unable to repay. That means if you are on one of those programs and you were not at fault, the waiver could be approved without you having to prove anything else about your finances. Same 30-day rule applies here too. If you file the waiver request within 30 days of getting the notice, they have to stop collections until they make a decision. Option number 3 is the simplest one, but people overlook it constantly. You can call and negotiate a lower repayment rate even if you do not qualify for a full waiver. The 50% rate is just the default. It is not the final answer. You have the legal right to call Social Security and request a lower monthly withholding amount. If you can show that 50% creates financial hardship, they can reduce it to 25%, 15%, or even lower depending on your situation. The number to call is 1-800-772-1213. And you should also visit your local Social Security office in person if you can get an appointment. Now I want to give you a step-by-step action plan, because I know when you are staring at that letter in your kitchen, the last thing you can do is think clearly. Step 1. Do not panic, and do not ignore the letter. You have 90 days from the date on the notice before automatic withholding starts, so you have time to act. Step 2. Read the notice carefully and look at the dates and dollar amounts. Check whether you actually received the money they claim you were overpaid for those months. Step 3. If you believe the amount is wrong or you were not overpaid at all, file Form SSA 561 within 30 days, and collection stops until they review it. Step 4. If you agree you were overpaid, but it was not your fault and you cannot afford to pay it back, file Form SSA 632BK within 30 days for a waiver. Step 5. If neither of those applies, but 50% is too harsh, call 1-800-772-1213 and negotiate a lower monthly repayment rate. Step 6. If your overpayment is $2,000 or less, you may be able to handle the waiver request entirely over the phone without visiting an office at all. And Step 7. Keep copies of everything. Every letter they send you, every form you submit, every call you make. Write down the date, the time, and the name of the agent. Let me bring this all together because I know I covered a lot, and I want you to walk away from this video knowing exactly where you stand and what your rights are. Social Security made $71.8 billion in payment errors over 8 years, and now they are coming after individuals to collect, often for their own mistakes. The current default clawback rate is 50% of your monthly benefit, which on the average check means losing nearly $1,000 a month until the debt is cleared. You have 3 ways to fight this. Appeal with SSA 561, request a waiver with SSA 632BK, or negotiate a lower rate by calling 1-800-772-1213. Filing within 30 days freezes collections. You have 90 days total before automatic withholding begins, and the waiver rules just got expanded in your favor with 20 new presumptions. If this video helped you understand something you did not know before, share it with someone who depends on Social Security, because this letter could show up in their mailbox next. And if you want to stay ahead of every rule change that affects your benefits, your money, and your rights, subscribe and turn on the bell so you never get caught off guard. Thank you for being here, friends. I will see you in the next one. And remember, you have more power than that letter wants you to believe, but only if you use it in time.